Hi everyone, you're watching Tamit Saleh's Tennis Forum, and in this video we are going to look at the draw for the Paris Masters 1000. It is the ninth and final Masters event of the year, c'est la finale. Sorry, excuse my French. And it will decide many things. Rafa Nadal is back, his first competitive match since that US Open final, and he can clinch the year-end #1 spot in this tournament. Also, this is the final tournament in which players can qualify for the London World Tour finals. The top 8 will be decided, and we're going to look at all these things, go through the draw, and I'm going to give you some stats and facts to get you guys ready and prepared for the final Masters 1000 of the season. If you haven't already, then please do subscribe, as I do release weekly videos. In my last video, I explained the tennis ranking system to you guys, as well as answering some of your questions. If you want to check that out, I'll be putting a link up here somewhere and also in the description below. But we have a lot to get on with, so without further ado, let's roll the intro. So, the Paris Masters, also known by some as Bercy, was established in 1968. There were some breaks in between, so we can call it a second establishment in 1986. And after 3 years in 89, it was established as one of the top 9 tournaments. These days we know them as the Masters 1000. The main show court of the tournament boasts a 15,000 capacity, and the prize money up for grabs this year for the players is at 5.2 million euros. The most titles in Paris is held by Novak Djokovic, who's won it there a record-breaking 4 times. And a stat for you guys is that in its long history, there's been 46 editions of this tournament. No one has ever defended their Paris Masters title except for Novak Djokovic. He's the only player to defend it, and he actually won 3 in a row between 2013 and 2015. Looking at last year's final, the defending champion is Karen Khachanov from Russia. He actually beat Novak Djokovic in the final last year. It was a bit of a surprise to win his first ever Masters 1000 and his last. Some of us, including myself, thought that this was a stepping stone for Khachanov and he'd go on for bigger and better things, but this year's been quite disappointing to say the least. Novak Djokovic, last year he had that epic semi-final against Roger Federer. It was actually voted as the best match of 2018 on ATPtour.com. Some fantastic match that was last year. Now, I know you're all here for the draw, so let's go on with it. There is a potential semi-final matchup between Novak Djokovic and Daniil Medvedev in the first semi-final, and in the second semi-final we could have Federer, Nadal. So some amazing semi-finals, but we'll start from round 1. Now, Paris, unlike Shanghai or Cincinnati or some of the other tournaments, the top 16 get a first round bye, not top 8. I did make a video on, if it's fair or not for the top 8 to get a bye, but in Paris, all 16 seeds get a bye in the first round. Nevertheless, we still have some cracking first round matches. We have an all-American tie between Tiafoe and Fritz, some of the next-gen players, and I really do want American tennis to rise up again, and I feel these two are probably the leading light, as well as probably Riley Opelka. So yeah, I'm excited. Fritz did beat Sasha Zverev in Basel last week, so that was a big result for him. That is a first round match. Also, we have Coric. Thank you for all those that helped me pronounce it correctly last time. So yeah, we have Coric versus Verdasco, Rublev versus Tsonga. That could be quite explosive and fun. And then we also have Cilic versus Hurkacz. I think Hurkacz has been doing fairly well lately. Suffered a difficult loss to Tsitsipas, where it could have gone either way in Shanghai. So those are my picks for round 1. Round 2, the big boys start coming into play, and then we have Djokovic versus Gasquet. These are all, of course, predicted matchups. So yeah, Djokovic, Gasquet. Nadal back from injury and his wedding, of course. He could face Mannarino in the second round. We could have Federer, Albot. And then my pick for the second round would probably be Shapovalov, Fognini. I think that'll be a great match. Also, the winner of Tiafoe Fritz plays Tsitsipas, and the winner of Coric Verdasco plays Zverev. Looking into round 3, and we do have some tasty ties there, we could get Nadal versus Stan Wawrinka. Now, Stan had to retire in Basel before his quarterfinal match against Roger Federer, so let's see how if he can recover from his injury on time. But that would be a great match. I still see Rafa coming through it though. We could have Tsitsipas RBA, Roberto Batista Agut. That could have a big significance on who finishes in the top 8. Zverev Fonini. All of these matches now, they will decide who finishes in the top 8. Federer Monfils, Berrettini Khachanov. That would be a good match. And then we also have Djokovic Schwartzman. Looking at some of these matches, I don't see any trouble for the big boys. I do expect them all to come through. And then we reach the business end of the tournament, the quarterfinal stage. And to be honest with you, looking at the quarterfinals, it's very similar to the ones we saw in Shanghai. We have Djokovic Tsitsipas, a repeat of that Shanghai quarterfinal, which Stefanos did win. So a bit of revenge could be on Novak's mind. We have Medvedev Thiem in the quarterfinals. I feel like that will be a great match. And the winner of those two will face each other. So we could have Djokovic Medvedev, which is mouth-watering. But at the same time, we could even have Tsitsipas Medvedev, which is always quite a ferocious affair. They do have history. And it could be revenge time for Tsitsipas. Looking into the bottom half of the draw, Federer Zverev. Once again, it could be a rematch of the quarterfinal in Shanghai. Federer did lose that to Sasha. So yeah, a repeat quarterfinal perhaps. And then we have Nadal Khachanov. Now this is going to seedings and what they've produced on the Instagram page. However, I feel like instead of Khachanov, I personally would put Berrettini in there, and that would be my quarterfinal. In the semi-final, I touched upon it before, Djokovic Medvedev. That could be an amazing match. I feel like it's a must-win really for Novak now. Likewise, Medvedev, I don't need to go on about it. Everyone knows about it. He is on an amazing run. 6 consecutive finals, 9 finals in 2019. Most matches won out of anyone this year. And yeah, since Washington, he has reached every final of every tournament he has entered. So this will be a fantastic match. And then we could have Federer versus Nadal in the other semi-final. There needs to be no introduction to that matchup. We've seen it many times. And actually, I would personally have Federer favourite. It is an indoor hard court, so we all know Federer's great indoors. Rafa struggles a little bit, and that's probably why he's never won Paris and he's never won the World Tour Finals in London. So yeah, that is the draw for you guys. I'm now going to look at the results of the poll I posted a couple of days ago asking you who you thought your favourite was. I did ask everyone to try not to be biased, and the results have come in. Almost 350 of you guys voted, so it's a massive, let's call it market research, a big audience. 47% of you think that Rafa will win Paris. It would be his first ever win in Paris, and I'm actually quite surprised that almost half of you think that Rafa will win. Novak Djokovic second place, he had 28% of your votes. Daniil Medvedev third, he got 17% of your votes. Roger Federer, quite surprisingly considering that he is pretty good indoors, maybe because of recent form, only 8% of you guys think that Roger will win in Paris. And funnily enough, the other section, only 1%. So that is the results in from you guys. Almost half of you think that Rafa will win in Paris. If I had to pick one now, look, it is very difficult these days to predict a winner because not only do you have the big three, but you've got players like Medvedev, Tsitsipas, recently Sasha Zverev, Dominic Thiem. They all now are winning more matches against the big three than ever before. So, but if I had to pick, I think the Paris winner will be Novak Djokovic. I feel like with the whole number one situation, which we're coming to next, it's a must-win tournament for Novak now. And indoors, he's proved that he's great indoors on the hard courts. He's got the most titles in Paris as well. And yeah, if I had to pick someone, it would be Novak Djokovic. However, it's wide open. I'm now going to look at the number one situation. How can Rafa Nadal clinch the year-end number one? So looking at the race, he is 1,280 points ahead of Novak, which means if he outscores Novak by 221 ranking points, he will claim the year-end number one title, as after this tournament, it's only the World Tour Finals where there's a potential 1,500 up for grabs. So if Rafa goes more than 1,500 ahead of Novak, that's it. If Rafa wins Paris, he confirms world year-end number one. Winning Paris confirms it. If Rafa reaches the final, then if Novak goes out in the semi-final or before, Rafa also confirms it. So if Rafa reaches the final, then Novak must reach the final as well to have any chance of stopping Rafa from clinching it. If Rafa reaches the semi-final, then Novak Djokovic needs to crash out in the third round. Personally, I think this is not going to happen. I can see Novak getting past Schwartzman or Gasquet, so I don't see him crashing out before the third round. So yeah, for Rafa to clinch it, personally, he will need to reach at least the final, and of course, winning it confirms that year in number one. I hope that answers any of your questions you may have had onto how Rafa can clinch it. If you do have any more questions, then feel free to post them below. I'll go through the breakdown with you individually if needed. Looking into the top 8, I do not want to go too much into this, as this will be the topic of my next video on Tennis Tuesday on who will make the top 8. It really does seem like it's between 6 players now: Zverev, Berrettini, Roberto Bautista Agut, Monfils, Goffin and Fognini. Zverev and Berrettini are in the driving seat really. Monfils, Goffin and Fognini, for them to have any shot of it, they need to reach semi-finals or more. And at this point, looking at, all the top 8 back in action, it is looking quite difficult for them to get to the semi-final, final, etc. And then they'll need Berrettini to crash out or Zverev to crash out fairly early on as well. I will look at it in more depth in my Tennis Tuesday video, so please do tune in for that one, where I'll be telling you all the scenarios and situations. I'm going to end this video by quickly giving you the latest on the Basel Open and the Vienna Open, both ATP 500s taking place this week. The semi-final lineup for Basel is Riley Opelka versus Alex de Minaur, and then you have Roger Federer versus Tsitsipas. Great semi-finals. And then in Vienna, the semi-final lineup is Dominic Thiem versus Matteo Berrettini and Gael Monfils versus Diego Schwartzman. That's your semi-final lineup for both of these tournaments. For players like Monfils, even players like de Minaur, if they can win maybe Basel and then have a deep run in Paris, they could all of a sudden get into contention for the top 8. But yeah, it is very important for those chasing that top 8 spot. I'm going to wrap it up there. Please do leave a comment below on what you think of the whole draw. Who do you think Rafa can clinch that year in number 1, and who will make the top 8? Don't forget to tune in for that next time as well. I do love hearing what you guys have to say and try responding to as many, if not all, of your great comments. I'll be posting another poll probably tomorrow, which I will be answering on my Tennis Tuesday video, so do keep an eye out on that one. If you haven't already, please do subscribe, as I've said, for future videos like this, and I'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much.